In this episode of Conducting Pills, we'll go into the first part of an analysis of Richard Strauss till Eulenspiegel. Hi, I'm Giovanni Grillo, I'm a conductor and composer, and welcome to this new episode of Conducting Pills, a series where we look into a classical piece or a part of it and outline its structure and phrasing, orchestration, and harmony, with a bonus technical tips for conductors. I want to take a second to thank all of my patrons and to remind you that on my website you can find the full episodes of Conducting Pills and the extra episodes tackling technical aspects on top of the live sessions and many other patrons' perks. And now, let's begin. Till Eulenspiegel is the name of a young boy in a fairy tale written in 1511. We don't know if he really existed, but in the legend he was born in a small German village and became a known trickster, someone who played practical jokes on the people in his village. The adults in the village did not like his jokes, and when things went too far, Till was arrested, tried, and sentenced to death. The story of Till Eulenspiegel turned into one of Richard Strauss's most popular tone poems. Written in 1894-1895, the frontispiece itself tells us that it is structured as a rondo. A rondo is a musical form where the same motive comes back times and again, alternating with different episodes. For example, if our motive is called A, a typical rondo structure is A, B, A, C, A, D, and so forth, with B, C, and D being different episodes. As we'll see, this tone poem is more of a rondo with variation where the story can be split into the following sections. A small once upon a time introduction, the introduction of the character of Till Eulenspiegel. Then Till creates havoc in the marketplace. Till impersonates a priest. Till attempts to woo a lady. Till mocks the elders of the village. Then he thinks that he's unstoppable, and finally he is sentenced to death. And then we have a coda. Now the work opens with a once upon a time theme played by the violins. This theme will come back between episodes, like the calm before Till plays a new prank. Now notice the tempo indication, once more an indication of feeling rather than pace. Gemächlich means comfortably, without rushing. Till Eulenspiegel has his own theme, of course, introduced by the French horn, a slightly tentative melody at first, with unsettling offbeat accents rising and falling to the lowest notes of the instrument. The first 5 notes of this theme will reappear times and again in all sorts of variations. The theme is retaken by different instruments, from the oboes to the clarinets, and its last part becomes an excuse for a big crescendo. After which, the mocker begins with the other Till's motive introduced by the clarinet. It represents Till's laughter as he plots his next prank. This theme shares the exact same pitches of the opening, or, if you prefer, the introduction is a slowed down version of this theme. Notice the changes in the dynamics. A clarinet solo in mezzo forte answered by a fortissimo chord of the whole orchestra. The strings drop to a subito piano, crescendo, forte, and piano again. It's a roller coaster that helps to define the character of Till Eulenspiegel. If that wasn't clear enough, Strauss writes lustig on the clarinet line, underlining the fun and trickster-like character of the music. The music follows Till throughout the countryside as he rides a horse through the market, spilling food and goods everywhere. The horse riding is suggested by the rhythm at rehearsal number 3. Till's theme is already being developed, and there's a great number of lines intertwining each other. Just look at the head of the theme transformed in the violins, retaken at the end of the flutes in the D clarinet scale, answered in its downward form by the English horn, clarinets, and bassoons. Notice the horns part, a version of the theme spread out over 5 bars. And round we go to the violas, the cellos, the violins with the horns. Strauss plays with the material in a series of practical jokes on the orchestra, bouncing the motive from one section to the other till we reach a fortissimo. The motive is transformed again and again, still goes through the market and runs away. Look at number 7. Doesn't the flute remind you of someone rushing away from a scene? The theme moves to the cellos and basses in yet another form, and then to the flute. And answered by the first violins, closing the phrase very gently. He is spying on someone gossiping in the market. The clarinet scale shows Till coming in on his horse. There's a moment of utter turmoil with a lot of broken pots and pans and angry screams of the women. Notice the use of the ratchet. All of this is still a variation. The confusion is generated by the use of the head of the theme in hemiolas in the woodwinds, while the trombones play a slightly slower version of it, and the strings add sweeping scales underneath. And Till starts thinking about his next prank. Notice the orchestration very low, with cellos divisi in 3 on a pizzicato, ending with a rising chromatic scale. The process is repeated through different sections, till the idea is hatched. Till will disguise himself as a fat friar and preach to the crowd. But his true nature reveals in the bass line at rehearsal number 13, and in the violins right after, interrupted by a mocking clarinet. Before the phrase closes with the laughter disguised in the chromaticism of the bassoons and the violas. A violin solo reveals a more sarcastic nuance that transforms in a sort of premonition. The music we hear here will come back towards the end when Till is sentenced to death. But for the time being, Till is safe. The violin solo returns with the same motives, rising up and falling down with a glissando that introduces his next adventure. There's no doubt that Strauss's music is very demanding and can be overwhelming, especially at first. The very beginning of this piece might not be extremely complex in terms of texture, but sure, its biggest technical challenge lies in the theme's rhythm. What you need here is nothing but your wrist movement. The smaller the gesture, the clearer it will be. This bit of advice is also valid in the loudest parts of this piece, the frantic and chaotic tunes. Keep it small and you will gain clarity, which is what the orchestra needs the most in these very difficult passages. The first part of this analysis finishes here. Thank you very much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel by clicking on the subscribe button right below the video and ring the bell so you will get notified every time a new video comes out. For even longer video and a lot more material, check out my website, and if you're interested in conducting and conducting technique, you can also check out my Facebook group. All the links are in the description. Let me know in the comments what you think about this piece and if you have any suggestions for future videos, and I look forward to seeing you next week with a new episode of Conducting Pills, when we will finish our analysis of Strauss' Still Eulenspiegel. In the meanwhile, please continue to enjoy music and be well. Ciao! Find the theme or themes or parts of them. Zero in on the phrase and then go through each step. How do you practice these rhythms? Slow it down. Take the pitches out and practice it as a purely rhythmical excerpt. Even at a